University of Texas at Arlington in the course Nurse of Leadership in Complex Health Systems. I'm here today to do a leadership book review on the book Judgment: How Winning Leaders Make Great Calls by Noel Tichy and Warren Bennis. A little bit about the authors. Dr. Noel Tichy was a graduate of Colgate University and Columbia University. He is currently a professor of management and organizations at the Rouse School of Business at University of Michigan. In the 80s, he was the head of GE's Leadership Center. He was previously a professor at Columbia University of Business School. He has multiple leadership publications to include this one, and he is also still currently a private leadership consultant for many large firms such as Pepsi, GE, and Best Buy. Dr. Warren G. Bennis has a vast leadership knowledge, which began when he fought as a soldier in the Army during World War II at the age of 19. He got his bachelor's degree in psychology and business in 1951 after World War II from Antioch College, and later on went to get his doctorate in business and social services from MIT. He has multiple publications as well. Most notably, he wrote a book called An Invented Life, which he was a Pulitzer nominee for. And he also was a professor at many different colleges. Most importantly, was a professor of business administration at the University of Southern California, where he founded the school's Leadership Institute. The purpose of this book was to really explain to the reader the importance of judgment calls and how it makes or breaks a great leader, and the effect that these judgment calls from these leaders, the effect it has on the corporation and the success or failure of the corporation. They say it boils down to a judgment call, and these judgment calls, whether they be good or bad, can make or break a leader's career as well. The three main domains are people, strategy, and crisis. People, the authors say, is the most important. This is, who you have around you, who you hire under you, and who you allow to be on your team. Strategy, of course, is everything that goes behind making these judgment calls. And then crisis, while it seems like this would be a really important one, the authors say, of course, crisis is important because it's a crisis. And it's important that you make good judgment calls during this, but these judgment calls are not necessarily any more important than any other judgment call. The authors also state that it is important to know that leaders need to know when to make judgment calls. The biggest judgment call made is on what judgment calls are the most important and will have the biggest impact on their corporation. And they give a lot of background on strategy and how to make a good judgment call and what goes behind these calls that are made. And they explain that judgment is broken down into preparation, the call, and execution. Throughout the book, they explain interviews they've had with great leaders throughout time, and also they review some of the mistakes these leaders made, whether they claim them or not, the implication it had on the corporation or company that they work for. The target audience is for current leaders to help guide them in making good judgment calls. Like I said, they give a real broken down strategy on how to make a great judgment call and what you should look at in terms of when do you make these judgment calls, the background into what research do they do, what exactly do they look at, what people are they looking for, and it follows it all the way through how do they review these judgment calls they made and learn from them. And it's also important that it's a good read for future leaders like myself to help us understand how important it is to make good judgment calls and to understand enough about your corporation or company and your staff or coworkers around you so that you can make these good judgment calls. The strength of this book is, of course, the guidance on decision making and the framework for the judgment. All the examples they give, in my opinion, they could have cut back a little bit on some of them. It got a little repetitive on the interviews they had with people, and I feel like they could have gotten their point across necessarily without having to be repetitive with that, but they did give a lot of good examples on showing you how that one judgment call they made led to their vast success or their ultimate failure in them leaving that business world or corporation for good. In my opinion, this book can be applied to leadership in any role or field. So a lot of the examples were in business, like Pepsi, Coca-Cola, but they also were in large corporations and engineering, like Boeing. There wasn't a ton of healthcare examples, but I think it could be easily translated to healthcare because it's giving you guidance and examples on what to look for and how to make a good judgment call. The weakness is the focus on just the leader. And then, like I said, I feel like they kind of overdid the interview process a little bit too much, and the book could have got its point across without all of the examples. While they were helpful, I felt like that was a little overkill. And then, of course, the guidance on good leadership was good. However, it doesn't really help fix a bad call. It just tells you what goes behind making a great call and what can happen if a bad call is made. It does help give you examples of knowledge on how to make a great call. That way in the future your calls can be made better. Would I recommend this book? I think it is a good read. It really, really pushes hard on how important judgment is and how one call can really make or break a company. So I feel like it is a good read for future and current leaders to read. It's not necessarily the best leadership book in my opinion, but it is a good read to understand how judgment and relations and strategy really play a huge role in leadership and management.